family, you see the best and worst of people. It's a very different kind of relationship. You don't just see what the world sees. And that's true for all of us. My first memory of a song was Laila O Laila. And that's where I saw him giving Zina Khan these looks. And I'm like, what's going on here? My father lost his father at 13. He was the eldest of 5 brothers and 1 sister. And his mother ran a taxi. He's seen the best and the worst of life, and whatever he did.
I always think that you were very intimidated by him at that point.
I don't know of anyone who wasn't. We're not going to work together because I don't see that fire in your eyes. I was obviously taken aback. I started drinking at the age of 15. And my whole orientation of the world was in an altered state of mind.
Apocryphal story I've heard is one day your father turned up to school in a horse.
No, it was me.
Hi, I'm in conversation with a fine young man from a film family, and I've been especially privileged to interview him for the first I think it was his first debut interview for Filmfare. Me and him have had our share of ups and downs, and we've grown through the years, and it's always been a wonderful relationship. This is, for all practical purposes, his second coming at the movies. I'm in conversation with Fardeen Khan. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
We kind of started our careers together around the same time.
What has changed in your second innings, according to you?
What hasn't changed, Jitesh? A lot changes in 12 years. We can start with me. I've changed. Of course.
What are the good and bad changes?
You could call me maybe wiser or less foolish. Take your pick, whichever one. Life, if you choose to learn, teaches you quite a bit. I've got more life experience. I understand myself at a much deeper level. I'm no more the quintessential party boy. I've left that behind. I'm a father. I've got 2 beautiful children. And for all practical purposes, I'm a newcomer.
That's very modest of you.
That's the mindset with which I came back after 12 years. So a lot has changed, but fortunate that some of my relationships, in terms of the friends I've made in the industry, they were good relationships, strong friendships, and they've lasted.
Like whom? Just tell me, give me an example of something then and now.
Someone I've got to know and was consistently in touch would be Jitesh Deshmukh. He's someone who we became really close, even though I was away. So that's one friendship. I've been in touch with Ramesh Taurani throughout the years, Sajid Naryadwala throughout the years. Even though in between we weren't. Because I was in London and traveling up and down. That fondness, that respect, that sentiment has stayed. Sajid Khan is someone I've also been in touch with over the years, and I'm currently working on a project where I'm 3 of the actors I've worked with before, and of course
Houseful 5.
Houseful 5. So there's Akshay, who I've done one picture with, and I've just come off a movie with him with Khel Khel Mein. And Abhishek, who I did Om Jai Jagdish with, and now we're doing Houseful 5. I think we have a few years between us. I'm older, of course. I've grown up together. I think they were away for a while. I think they went to university abroad, and then we met. We kind of connected during Om Jai Jagdish. And then, of course, there's fondness and a healthy respect for each other. And, of course, we met socially and so on and so forth, even after Om Jai Jagdish. So yeah. And then my life took my own direction, and he got married and settled. And, of course, we got busy doing our own thing. I was away. So it's amazing to reconnect. I'm extremely fond of him. It's nice to reconnect. So I'm having such a blast.
So I have to take you back to your childhood. I have to take you back to your wonder years. So you were born to the extremely flamboyant, notorious Khan family.
To be very honest, it was a conscious decision on part of my parents to actually shield us as much as they could. no film magazines allowed in the house. We were, in bed by 8. We were not allowed to stay back because God knows what all they were up to and what all happened and transpired and all the drama, which one heard about many, many years later. So, a few close friends of theirs who came early, we would, of course, meet them, and we were had to say hello and all of that, and be introduced, and then we were packed off. So. We were consciously shielded with the intent of wanting us to have as normal an upbringing as possible. Being born into a family where one parent is famous in itself, people can, what do you call, feel entitled, the frills extended to that parent. So they were very, very conscious on their part. Yes, they were protective. Of us, of me and my sister, both, but it was pretty normal. We were not.
I somehow find it hard to buy that. Pretty normal. Feroz Khan's son and lifestyle cannot be normal.
No, his lifestyle wasn't normal, but he had a very tough upbringing himself. He lost his father at 13. He was the eldest of 5 brothers and 1 sister, and his mother ran a taxi. We're talking about the 40s now. She ran a taxi to make ends meet. And he started making some money hustling as a snooker player. And because he was in the top 5 of the Karnataka championship and amongst the rankings. So that's how he started with monies. His dream was to always be an actor. He came down to Bombay at a young age, struggled for many years. Eventually, when he could afford to, he got his family down, his mother down. They stayed in a rented flat, so he got his, brother, the first job, even his Abbas Chacha, Sanjay uncle, got was, my father got him his first job, and he got his brother settled. We're talking about the 60s. He sent his brother Shahrukh to Canada to study, even to do his MBA. And in those days, that was a big deal. So he's seen the best and the worst of life, and whatever he did, he did it when he earned it, when he could afford it. But he knew what sacrifice meant, and he knew what valuing whatever he had earned meant. So that was very, very important to him to instill in us, and it came from a place that he had experienced himself. So he was a no nonsense dad. And he wouldn't indulge you. We even sometimes, we had to clean up with our plates or put them back in the kitchen, and we were given tasks and we were responsible for things in the house. And
so you didn't grow up entitled and privileged like a lot of star kids.
Listen, there is inherent entitlement and privilege just by virtue of being born into a family, but there was nothing. We were never made to feel that we were entitled. We were never given any privileges. None at all. We went to a very normal school. Our friends were all normal. None of my friends were really from the film world as such. And, we were consciously shielded from that world. So when I say normal, it was absolutely normal. We had once a year, we had our birthday parties. We used to, family holiday we used to go to Srinagar, where my father's sister lived. And that was it. And back in the day, you went along with your parents. And when he was filming, yes, we got to accompany him if we had holidays, and that's when you get a sense that what it meant to be famous.
You never saw your father doing any of those romance scenes or anything?
In those days, what was a romance scene? It was a song.
Yeah.
My first memory of a song was Laila O Laila.
Oh, wow.
Where it was my birthday that day, and my father couldn't make it for my birthday in the house. So after my birthday party, I had to take a cake and go. My father wanted to cut a cake with his son, so I had to go to set where he cut a cake with me. And that's my first memory of a film song, and that's where I saw him giving Zina Taman these looks. And I'm like, what's going on here? so, and of course, she was so stunningly beautiful and all of that, and I was also like, She's beautiful. I mean, but in my mind, obviously, I'm so young. You know, you definitely. People are in awe of beauty, whether it's in human form or in any other form. So yeah, it was an interesting experience, that whole process of orienting yourself with the profession and everything that comes with it.
What was your relationship with your mom like? Because your mom, I mean, Sundari auntie is like this really strong person, and she was also flying for a long time.
She flew with Air India
yeah.
for 8 years. She was an independent lady. She looked after her parents and she worked hard. The glory days of Air India when it was run by JRD Tata, and she was part of that. Maureen Wadia, Parmeshwar Godrej, and herself, and there were a couple of other people who were also part of that clique who were with Air India. My father was a formidable personality. You know, he was larger than life even at home in some ways.
The den.
No, but he was a man who'd seen life for what it is, and he was tough. You know, so I mean, he would show love in very different ways. You know,
Is that a good thing for a child?
We'll come to that. But he would show love in very different ways. I mean, he was protective, and that's how he showed love. But he was not expressive. You know, once in a while on your birthday, I mean, I'll tell you other incidents, but yes, he had his own ways of showing love. But on a normal conversational level or an everyday level, no, there was a certain formality.
I always think that you were very intimidated by him at that point.
I don't know of anyone who wasn't. In a family, you see the best and worst of people. So it's a very different kind of relationship. You don't just see what the world sees, and that's true for all of us. So with my mom, I was mama's boy. I mean, my foundation of love and story is from home. And very close to the attachments. So it's very special. I was also very close to my nanny, Mansara Bai. So she was my nanny, she was like my second mother. So my mother, of course, I was trapped with my dad, and she was with my mom, very close. I was very quiet, sensitive, introverted as a kid. So if I never used to express myself as such, talk too much. So I knew where I needed to go to just feel safe, and that was in my mother's arms. So it was a calm environment, just very my head between the bed and the side, with my arm across. And she knew there was something, I was all right, or there was something wrong.
Apocryphal story I've heard is one day your father turned up to school in a horse.
No, it was me.
Are you sure your father?
So if you want to talk about my normal childhood, and a couple of things that were normal, and going to school in a horse was really not normal.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
Okay, my father loved horses, as you know. So my father loved horses, and he had a horse called Rizwan, which was at a stable, probably a few kilometers from the house. So on weekends, the horse, or no, actually, days he wasn't shooting, every day the horse would come to the house and he would ride on the beach. Back in the day, horse riding was big on the beach. It was bad now. But so he used to love riding when he used to ride on the beach. So when he wanted me to ride, I was all about much. And this horse was big. I used to look up at this horse like a monster. I still remember his mom. I rode him many years later, before many, but I had loved riding him. And I was scared as hell with this horse. And my father used to, get him to rear up, and show me how riding was done. And once he tried to take me on the beach, riding with him, and I just freaked out because he used to go down. We've been to the house, so and in the Wadi, there's stairs that goes down to the beach. And my father, being my father, wouldn't walk the horse down the stairs. He would ride the horse down the stairs and holding on to me and this horse. And I was freaking out, and the horse was also freaking out with me. And I just screamed
was crying, and he had to send me back home. He's like, "Are you sure this is my boy?" He must have been thinking in his head. So yeah, so he was keen that I learned riding, and getting used to horses without horses, just as he did. So one day he said, "Today we're going to go to school with a horse." And sounds stupid. So I didn't.
I'm trying to think of the Jamnabai teacher.
No, this is not Jamnabai. This is Bessin Montessori.
Okay.
I did in Jasawala.
Yeah.
And we are neighboring with Theosophical.
Yeah.
So it was owned by the same landlady, Judge Jasawala. And we used to have a common gate.
So you just walk, hop across.
2 minute walk to my school every morning.
Yeah.
I was there in the 4th standard at Bessin Montessori. And he said, "You would go to school with a horse?" So I was like, "No!" He said, "Yes, I want you to learn riding." And his intent wasn't to send me to school, of course, because he was this horse lover, because I was this horse lover son. But he just wanted me to learn riding. He should not be scared of the horse. So he said, "Go to school." So here I go to school on a horse. He used to have a white uniform, this tie. I'm so shy, just sitting on this horse. And my son was the horseman who used to look after the horse and size this one. And the kids were playing, the school bell hadn't rung as yet. And I remember I was like shy, looking down, embarrassed. I don't know what the hell. And my legs couldn't even reach the stirrups, they were like flapping. So yeah, and then the kids saw me coming in, and of course everyone's fascinated seeing this big horse, and who's on the horse is me, and for them it was a big deal, but I was embarrassed as hell. And so that's why. But they were cheering me on, and they were all excited. It was a big exciting moment that day. So it's something he did. My father did. He got kicked out of one school. He should just love. I mean, if you go back into our generational history, they were horse traders. So it's in the lot. So my father loved horses from a very, very young age. And he was a field next to one of his schools. And he jumped on a wild horse. And he said, "I'm going to ride it." And he bareback rode it, just caught onto its mane and rode it, but he couldn't control it. And the school assembly was on.
See, I told you he reached his school on a horse.
He couldn't control the horse. He just went through the assembly. It was absolute mayhem, helter-skelter, people running around everywhere, and he was kicked out of that school.
So we were at the stage where you blossomed into this beautiful young man, and you decided to go to university.
Yes, it was extremely important to my father to give his son and daughter a solid education, because he didn't have one. And that's something I think somewhere he was insecure about. He always felt lesser than because of that. He was post 13, then went to school. He was self-read, self-taught, well-read man. He talked to you about any subject. He was curious, he had a curious mind. And whatever he knew, his friends were. He never really hung out with the film industry people. His friends were all industrialists. And he was a very, very bright boy, a bright man. And he read philosophy and poetry. He had encyclopedias in the house. And of course, the passion for filmmaking, which his experience taught him everything he did. So, but he still felt he felt that was education, degree was something that completed you as a man. That was the thinking man that it still is. And without that, you were nothing, man. I mean, you needed that. So it's very important. And he was very keen that I finish my studies and then do what I want. He says, "You get a degree, you're free to do what you want. I don't want to tell you what to do." So he was keen to send me to America, to university, and actually be away from this not the world, but the cocoon of your home, where you're naturally protected. And he wanted me to experience the independent and find myself and my identity. And so I went to Paraguay. It was only British university, so they were on the East Coast. I guess he has done a lot of partying in LA and New York City. I was only allowed to go to uni in New York City. It was, I've heard stories about New York City in the 70s. It was effing wild. so he said he's going to go to Boston, New England, where they're still conservative comparatively. So I landed up at the University of Massachusetts. I did a business degree. Not necessarily my first choice of subject, but he was keen that I did a business degree. So I think that was more for him. But in looking back, best years of my life, some of the best years of my life.
Did you realize your father's such a significant filmmaker? 70s was probably, whether it was Aparadh or Kurbani, the kind of films he made. Did you realize?
Much later. I think the first premiere of his I attended was Kurbani, and I don't really recall if I attended the public premiere, but I know I attended the Delhi premiere, and it was chaotic. I mean, Kurbani was, I think, the biggest hit of the year. I mean, people had never experienced something like that. That was, his life changed after Kurbani. It was his moment when life was never the same. He became a superstar, and not just a superstar, actor, producer, director. And there was no one. There was Raja Musa, Roshan Khan, who did it successfully. And then there was him. He was the third. And it was after that I was Kurbani. I was age of 9, something like that. 18, released in June 1980. So, attending the premiere, seeing the crowds, I was 8. It was scary because everybody wanted a piece of him, everybody trying to touch him, mobbing. He was also come down there. They don't come down there. It was Zia Ramji, I was tagged along. He wanted us to experience his success. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell he was doing. There's a picture I had where he's holding on to me and he was scared like I did that whole time. Go spot my hand. so that's the first time where I got a true sense. I mean, I had visited him on some sets before, where there were, of course, people were shooting. Of course, there was platform, but that was the first time. And after that, he bought a farmhouse in San Diego, where we spent a lot of time. That's when
Short films there?
Short films there, yes. Short movies there. So it was after that I got a sense of the. I mean, by then I had, of course, that man around me as my father is an actor. He does for a living, and actors are famous by default, whatever it is, and people, some people celebrate it, whatever. At 7 that's how you make sense of it. And if you see movies and you're like, okay, this is what my dad does, and this is how you celebrate other actors. Oh, really? Okay, this makes sense. But then you get a sense of, and then to really acknowledge and appreciate his contribution to cinema or the films that he had made, why he was that made, that came later, of course. As I stepped out, he took me to parties, not parties, but I was actually 16 or 17, maybe someone's marriage or someone's reception. We've done no adult parties as such. But when they were, I remember, he used to come on with a lot of respect. People admired him for the kind of film he made. So there's a lot of people sitting around there talking to him, asking questions, how did you do this film? And I was just there, sitting, listening, observing. Yeah, I'm a little shit. people really look up to him and respect him for his work. And then your mind starts thinking a little bit, you try to understand. And then, of course, I was very interested in filmmaking and directing. That was actually my first love. More than.
And that's how you decided to become an actor after all seeing the entrepreneurs and all of that?
No, Jitesh, you would probably relate to this. 90s, 80s and 90s. I mean, we grew up where acting was just thought of people running around trees, and it was melodrama. I mean, there were some very nice movies made, some iconic movies, but generally it wasn't respectable in the way it is today as an art form. Yes, they told stories. Of course, there were some brilliant movies made. I don't mean to diss anyone, so I don't mean disrespect to anyone. But even my friends in school, I mean, they would take the mickey out of our movies. I mean, a lot of the Hindi films. I mean, English films were cool. Hindi films were not cool by any style, but they didn't have the cool factor at all. I mean, they were just graduating from the social dramas of the 70s, and then the action genre had just kind of started.
80s was quite a nada actually.
Yeah.
86, 87.
Yeah, the film in the 80s were pretty ridiculous. Some of the songs and stuff. So, of course, there were classics at that time, but a lot of them were, it wasn't the coolest thing to do to want to be a film actor. And when I came back from university, I was supposed to go back to America to NYU to do a 6-month intensive film course with off. And there was a lot of buzz around. I think Bobby had just been launched, I think a few years before me. And the next kid in line was me. And everyone was going on and on and on. Khan साहब क्या कर रहे हैं आप? हीरो तो आपके घर पे बैठा है. इसे क्यों नहीं लेते? Whatever. And that's how it all came about. People came with checks and doing whatever. And I was definitely not ready. And I started prep once it was decided. Not decided. I was asked. Of course, I agreed. I said, in my mind, I was like, hey, it's a great way for me to be on the front lines and learn the whole filmmaking process. That's how my dad did it, because he started off as an actor, and then he's made all these cool films. Maybe I should give that a shot. And it was a costly decision. My first film didn't work. I was not prepared. I was looking at film like cringe. I should have definitely, done some more work. Whether it was on language or even acting. But hey, looking back, it taught me a lot. That period, my first film, I was written off. I had to return some serious amount of money that I had taken. In those days, you paid a lot of money. I was like really happy that I had signed people. Like at 90 lakhs. When the first film didn't work, I had to return the money. And this is how my father said, that's the first thing you're going to do. How are you going to do it at home? And I had to return the money. And he laid it out pretty clearly for me. He says, I'm going to support you for 1 year. So I put a roof on your head, and I'll give you 50,000 rupees a month. The money that I had received in advance, I went and bought a car. My first car that I ever owned was an Opel Astra, which cost me 5,50,000 or something. I had taken EMIs. My EMIs was 22,000 or 23,000. And I was stuck with a bloody car, and all I was given was 50,000 a month, and I had 1 year. So I had to manage within that, and that was, I think, probably the greatest learning experience of my life, where I had to deal with failure, I had to deal with public failure, I had to deal with being trolled, I was being followed, it made me strong, it made me think. And I looked at my work, it made me look at things very seriously. And I said, I need to really work on myself. So that continued for a year, nobody wanted to touch me until there was Pillaai and Radhika. I think they were Mona, if I'm not mistaken. They saw a spark in me. The film was maybe dated, his character, the dialogue was too much ludicrous, I didn't see it, but there's something in him that was so to Ram Gopal. So I was sitting at home for this whole year, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I said, I mean, nobody wants to meet me or take calls or whatever. It's just, thinking of, okay, maybe go down the assistant director route, or maybe take that avenue, whatever. I was looking at all other plans, and I randomly got this call through a friend of mine who knew us.
Isn't me?
No, the friend was a friend from school.
Okay.
It was something.
Chota?
No. It was through two products. Anyway, so I get a message that Ram Gopal Verma wants to call you. I didn't find the name. I didn't believe it, and I was his biggest fan. We don't like him either. I don't want son yet. Dream to work with this man. The only man I wanted to work with was him. I was a huge fan. So, like, Ram Gopal Verma wants to talk to you. It's a message I got from him. Here's his number. He's calling right now. So, I finished myself. Didn't believe it at all. I called him up and didn't figure out the fashion. Hi Ram, this is Fardeen asked you. Yeah, Fardeen, what are you doing? I said, I'm at home. Can you come now? And I said, now? I said, what do you mean, now? And he said, yeah, now. I'm so up and come see. I don't know, and I got my jeans, just drove over. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And he, about 6 other people there, friends of his. It was not really the movies, but there were 6 friends of his. They were all drinking, hanging out, and I was just there, and I was just chatting, and we just having a social conversation, and there was no talk of anything. And he was obviously
Sussing you out.
Sussing me out. In that 1 hour that I was just sitting there, with no talk of anything, and eventually, he just says, Power, let's go talk. No, he told me Power. Come, let's go talk. And he says, this is why I called you, you said this and this. And I see something, we're working together. And that was it. And that's how the jungle happened. And I didn't know who to thank, or it was pure, obviously it was pure luck or what, or whatever. I mean, it's how that story unfolded. And Jungle was my second movie, just an amazing learning experience where, I was obviously free. I gave the experience of one film, but Ram's RGB's creative style was very different to my first experience with my father. You were invited to be part of the creative process, and you were involved in scenes, you were involved in writing, you were involved in where the story went, and you were listened to. And I kind of found myself in that environment. And Ram's films, RGB's movies his characters are very authentic. Jungle was especially authentic. It was very visceral, raw, and it needed a certain authenticity. And and I was very aligned with how I saw myself. And he said, just be yourself. He said, just be real. And I just didn't feel I was acting. It's just being normal. And of course, also very grateful for Pillaai to work with me, for agreeing to work with me. She was
She was a massive
she was a massive star at the time. I think she was the #1 actress at the time. And I mean, I was written off. And you know after my first film how tough it was. It was. I mean, no one would even take my call or want to work. So and she also agreed with RGB. extended, she was wonderful to work with. I was never made to feel at my first film had about whatever it was. Yes, and I was invited to be part of. In fact, all the opposite happened. I was invited to be part of the collaborative process. Just being listened to, seen, being heard. Very special. That's where I really got a sense of the creative process and found myself, and found my confidence again, and found my feet again, and stood up to, and of course, the ground again, two other movies with him. It was the Art of Nikyaki, there was Lucky, which I still remember.
Also, one of those songs was very
Kamatish.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Did you die while shooting for that song?
3 weeks before the release of Pyar Kya, we were shooting the climax of Love Ke Liye, and RGB visited the set of Love Ke Liye, and he's like, Fardeen, you sent me this remix of Pyar Kya? No. Yeah, it's a remix of, no. Oh, they sent me the song which is a remix of another song. Kamatish. Yeah. Let's listen to it. It was Venus who did Pyar Ratanjan and Sandeep had just sent it to this. So we heard it in the van and we looked at each other. It was like, RGV, I think we're very foolish if we don't shoot the song. And I just happened to have seen Ganesh Hegde. Might have been a Filmfare. Filmfare used to be January.
Yeah, January, February.
So I might have just seen Ganesh Hegde do a song for you at Filmfare. The awards, and I was blown away by what he'd done. I said, RGB must go with Ganesh. And he's like, it was Mota Ganesh and Pata Ganesh. Ganesh Acharya and Ganesh Hegde. So he said, no. He was like, Ganesh Acharya. I said, no. I said, that song was planned in about 4 or 5 days.
So shot in the Vasai Fort.
That was Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega as climax.
Yeah.
So where did we shoot? There's no time to put up a set. There was nothing. And I said in our discussion, I said, why don't we just shoot here? I'm not trying to take any credit for that song, really, but I'm just narrating how it unfolded. It was all collaborative. And because that song had that feel, it was ruins. And when I think after Ganesh saw it, we conceptualized it. It was pretty special. And choreography, there was no time to die, Jitesh, because we just had to do it. We just had to learn, and I'm no great dancer. I'm not a Hrithik Roshan. I'm not a Tiger Shroff. I don't have that dancing talent. So, but of course, they always choreograph based on what suits you. They want to do good. They don't give you started out. And Ganesh Hegde is particularly very good at that. And then I was dancing with Urmila, who celebrated for her dancing, and I was nervous as hell. But we didn't have the time. We just winged it, and it was Ganesh Hegde's vision completely. And he gave me some the steps he gave me was very masculine. It suited me. I got it. I looked comfortable. It suited me. So for me, and of course the song released, it was an overnight release. So for me, that was a point in my life, the release of Kamatish, life before that, life after that. So my life was different before Kamatish. I was 2 films old. Yes, his first film did well, very Magan, and it was Jungle, or is it? Jungle was a good movie, Viravan story, yes, easy to see. And then Kamatish comes along, and then I was suddenly I got a taste of what's startup was.
What did love feel like then? Because you say hedonistic, but was there any time when you really fell in love, or you married the woman that was real love? When did you like?
I never wanted to marry actually. That was, I'm grown up in a quite dysfunctional home, and marriage is not an institution that I really believed in. But yes, I said, I used to always say, I used to say openly that I would only marry when I was ready to have children. And to me, that was the only reason to be married. Because I think that you are bound and responsible for being a people, when you bring a new life into this world. And I think it's important to have that input backed by law, where both parents are equally invested. And so, and especially protects women, because I think women are particularly vulnerable in these situations. So these are things that I'm not thinking about. So for me, I felt that was the only reason I was needed. So at the time when I did decide to eventually settle down, I was there was a huge void in me. There was an aspect of me that wasn't fulfilled in terms of companionship. It's also because when you're out there, when you're famous, when you're celebrated, when you look in a certain way, or you always question, is it me who appeals to them, or is it the image of me? And I myself was because of the experiences I had growing up, I was very close. I lived behind a glass wall. I mean, for me to open up to anyone on a personal level was very, very difficult. It's not easy. It's never been easy. I keep everything in. I mean, I share my joy happy, but my feelings. I'm hypersensitive, and I hope I will be that. But that's how I was. That's how I slept. But I keep them. I have the tools to deal with it now. Earlier I didn't have the tools. I was just shut down. And I felt pretty lonely, to be honest. I realized I was. And I kind of had a realization that, yes, I'm ready to settle. Take that. It was, I can't say it was a conscious decision, but I felt the time was right. It was intuition, it was something I felt from within. That, hey, you've seen a side of life where you're not I was really not, let's just say I was willing to take responsibility of sharing my life with someone. Before that, you could say that I was afraid to, I wasn't ready for it emotionally. I didn't think I knew myself enough. I got married at 35 or 36. So I felt I knew myself enough, and I felt I could be ready for responsibility for it. I actually believed that I could commit to someone. So that was a interesting realization for me. But not interesting, I guess. It was a profound realization, and that started off
A new journey.
the new journey.
Did at that point also your films didn't do well and it coincided? Did say the failure of your films and impact your marriage in any way?
No. That was like I said now in 2005. And we come to, but there were ups and downs. I mean, the solo hero hit always eluded me. I was part of multi-stars, which were very taken. There was
Om Jai Jagdish.
Om Jai Jagdish, there was
Love के लिए कुछ
well, the jungle did well. It was fit up. It didn't do well, but it was still, it still got its fan following. It still got something recently. And jungle did well, but that one big solo hero hit eluded me. And when I look back, I was just not invested enough. I had to take responsibility for it. Whether it was, I think whether it was my craft, which evolved, I think, after the entry family, where I got into comedy, and that kind of freed me up, and I took it a lot more seriously. But it was also the way films were made at the time. They were pretty much popcorn romances, very superficial, but designed purely just to entertain. Not to take anything away from the filmmaker, it was just also the culture, sketch figures and scenes on set. Songs learning dance rehearsals are happening on set, and side by side. Just the culture. I was in a wonderful position. I had ample opportunities, but when I look back and I assess my first innings, I would definitely say I didn't give it the respect it deserved, and I didn't fully harness the opportunities I had.
You took it for granted a lot.
I didn't take it for granted, Jitesh. Never took it for granted. Because I worked myself back after my first film. It's not really lightly, but I just felt the whole process of how films were made was just no one took it seriously. I mean, my contemporaries, we all worked in the same way, whether it was, not contemporaries, even the actors were a little older than me, whether it was Sanjay Dutt or Salman, they were people we all looked up to, and they had their own.
Look at the names you're mentioning, all the bad boys of the film industry.
That's how people work. You know the work culture back then. It was very, very different. And listen, there are other reasons also. I think I could have definitely worked a lot harder on acting, involved more, and worked harder on my indie, and spent more time on that. And so that's what I say when I say that I didn't give it the respect it deserved. That's a responsibility. That's on me.
Nice. So then the bad boy gets tamed and decides to marry. Okay.
Bad boy gets tamed.
How
do you know? How do you know?
Yes, actually.
Maybe I just got a better actor. I don't know if I can tame.
Yeah. The leopard doesn't change its spots, right? So then you decide to get married, you had babies, and then you decide to come back to movies. But let me slightly pause there, and then for some reason the marriage didn't work out, you decide to come back to. Why did you move to London? In the sense, the long gap, 2011 you moved to London, and you stayed there, and did you miss the movies at that time?
Okay, which question should I answer?
You answer whatever you
said, why did I move?
Yeah.
No, I've spoken about this before. Natasha and me at the time, she had challenges having children. We consulted the doctors here for about a year and a half. It didn't work out. We had to take the IVF route. She had a very tough time in Mumbai. So it was my decision to move to London to get another opinion. We were told here that it's going to be very difficult to have a child naturally in Mumbai. So we moved there to have to consult the doctor, and of course it wasn't easy going. There were miscarriages involved. I've spoken about this as well. We lost twins in 6 months, so it was always a tough one, especially for everyone. It was hard, and then we finally received of the army in 2013, and followed by my son in 2017. The two joys of my life. And So even though I was away, I couldn't fully commit to a life here because I mean I was the primary supporter emotionally, you know, and I was happy being a father. Being a father was something that was very, very important to me.
But did you miss work?
2011, 12, 13. In 13, I got into very decent shape, but I also did my campaign for Pro Bowl. And I was all set to come back. And I saw my daughter, spending time with her. You know, I also done some real estate alongside, and you know that kind of worked out. So I was a little secure financially, and I could. So I said, okay, let me take a couple more years, and I just saw my daughter. I told her to be a dad. Being a dad to me was very important. It still is, of course. But 2 years, about 2, 3 years, 4 years, and then my boy was born. And, and of course, the having a boy was also very special. So, yes, I miss work. I miss work a lot. I think it took away, yes, being a father is most meaningful. But I think as far as aiming for something and doing something on a daily basis is also has its importance and place. And yes, it took away meaning and purpose. You know, from not working took that away from me. So yes, I miss it, and I miss it a lot. But I also let myself go, and you know, it wasn't just a 2, 3 year gap. A lot had changed. I put on a lot of weight. I was like, gee, I get back to acting again? Is the question, you know, it's a big question on me. Of course, I was actually scared about the prospect. Very scared, Jitesh. It's not like I left being a superstar. You know, my last release was Pillaai, which didn't do well. You know, I had all the best before that, which was a hit. You know, which Tia and something like that. That was a hit. But you know, as a solo actor, Pillaai was did fairly well at the box office. So I was like, coming back was daunting, very scary.
What would be your advice to a younger Fardeen Khan, to your younger self?
Treat yourself the way you would your best friend. I've had a challenging emotional life, and it was. I've been harsh on myself in many ways.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you're not very easy with yourself, at least your younger self. You know, you were living up to the exacting standards of your father. It's like you carry so much baggage, and like you've been harsh on yourself. There's a lot of self-loathing, or maybe some sort of.
We should, but no, but just shutting parts of yourself down. So, and just coping. You know, one is being your authentic self, and the other one is being a sum of coping mechanisms. I think I was a sum of coping mechanisms, but my authentic self, I protected very fiercely. I didn't share it, and then I didn't live it. I mean, there was a side of me that everyone would see. Not that I'm different. The sense of me is me, but there was a side of me that I would share with the people, with people, and then there was a very clear line which I wouldn't let anyone in. So even today, to let anyone into my life is very difficult. You know, I think being a father has changed that. My children have softened me in many ways, because to help them be to help them blossom and be the best they can be, or the truest they can be to themselves, and feel a sense of self-worth, and have their emotions validated, and discover who they are authentically in a very organic way. I had to dig very deep for that, and just confront a lot of stuff within myself, which I had shut down, and so it's been
So did you sort of take a toll on your mental? Did you go through therapy? Because you
I've-
talked
I've-
about
yeah.
inner self, inner.
I've done a lot of work on myself. Yes, I have been in therapy, and I continue. Then I took some time off it. Just wanted to just chill. Couldn't deal with a lot of heaviness, but I've continued it, and there are still. I'm still a work in progress on that level. I feel, I'm doing a lot of inner child work, and that is
Most important.
yes. So my child I had to shut down at a very young age. I had to grow up very quickly, because of the dysfunction within which I grew up in. So it was just how it was. So there were aspects of myself that I had to shut down, and I think I compensated and distracted myself. And there was alcohol and hedonism and just living a risque life and living on the edge, and as my dad said, burning the candle from both ends was I think a distraction. But then it all catches up. At least that's what I have learned. You can't escape it if you want to be true to who you are. You want to be true, especially when you become a parent, and you want to be authentic and true and integral. You got to clean house at some point.
How, being a long distance parent, is that tough? And what are the things that you take away from your marriage?
No, it's very tough. It will make me cry.
You want to take a break?
No, I'm okay. No, it's tough. It's tough. Being a dad was important, very, very important. Not being part of their everyday life is important. I mean, get my head right. Okay, a few deep breaths.
You want to cut the camera?
No,
We
it's
can-
I'm fine. Not being part of everyday life is difficult. Yes, it's tough. So, you've got holidays. You got the phone. You got thank God for FaceTime. Thank God for that. Thank God for Zoom. But I'm fortunate. I had some. Even though I was away for 12 years, I have a very strong bond with my children, and so that's special. I'm going for my daughter's birthday on the 9th. She's turning. It's her golden birthday. I just learned there's something called a golden birthday, where she's turning 11th on the 11th. So she's got this whole golden list. So I'm flying to London for 2 nights, literally, just to wish her for her birthday, and that's how it's done. And
So you were a good son, a better lover, and the best father.
it depends
Yeah?
who you ask.
If you had to relive your life again, would you do anything differently?
I wouldn't drink. I wouldn't drink. I've been sober for 4 years now. 5th year running. I wouldn't drink. I started drinking at the age of 15, and my whole orientation of the world was in an altered state of mind. Even though it was in school, how much can you drink? It was a couple of times a month, but it just. But it was also the culture at the time. People celebrated, they drank. People were sad and upset, they drank. People had the day off, they had a beer in the afternoon, and it was very normalized, and at least it was that's how it was in my home. It was very liberal in that sense, and I was officially allowed to start drinking at the age of 18. And I didn't have control over. I mean, I enjoyed it too much. Let me just put it that way, and didn't know when to stop. But that is something that I take responsibility for it, but I realize how costly it was. But I didn't know the difference because I started so young. So every joyous moment or anything celebratory was always under the influence of something, and that was how it was meant to be. That is what was normal. So it's only after becoming sober is where I can think and feel and act with absolute clarity and intent and authenticity to whatever extent I can be authentic. I mean, sometimes, I mean, the brain and our psyche and the nature is very, very complex and complicated. So, I mean, sometimes you think you're authentic, but sometimes you're not. I mean,
Did you have to go through rehab, or you just one fine day decided, I'm going to give it up?
I sought help.
It's lovely.
So yeah, so I mean, to people who, I mean, not going to tell anyone what to do or not drink or whatever, but drink in moderation and know the role that it plays. You know, it can be very, very costly. So that is something I wish I hadn't done. And otherwise, I think I've been I've been a decent chap. I think I haven't willfully wronged anyone. Or
Yeah.
yes, I've made mistakes. There's some things I'm not proud about at all, but it's part of learning. You learn from that. But other than that, yeah, that was costly to me.
So there's an audience which is keen to chat with you and ask you a few things.
Okay.
So you spoke about the differences between you and your father's personalities. If you had to tell me a couple of similarities between you and him, what would they be?
Oh, passionate people I mean, he was passionate about different things, but passionate, very passionate about what we do. Again, pretty straightforward. He was more straightforward than I was. Not that I'm crooked, but he would just say what he felt right there and there, irrespective of the time and place. I also say what I feel, but I pick and choose the moments because I think that has value. And yeah, passionate would be the most important.
Kudos to you for always being so candid about your physical transformation.
Yes.
I guess a lot of us would want to know what's your workout routine like?
My workout routine is a standard. I mean, I try and get in about 3 hours of cardio, and I try and get in about 4 hours of weight training at least in a week. But besides that, more than anything, it was the food, which was the biggest challenge, and literally more than reclaiming my health, my diet played a huge part. And not that I had to eat less, but I literally educated myself to eat right. And I eat a lot, but I came across this author and scientist, and who's a world-renowned scientist, Dr. Catherine Shanahan. And she's written one of the most referenced books in the world called Deep Nutrition. And then she wrote a book specifically on metabolism and eating well called The Fat Burn Fix. So again, I came across her and I ordered the book on Amazon. I was in London at the time. I read it in all of 3 days, and it was an education. And then I started following the basics in research-based science that was shared with me, and I've never looked back since. So even though I cheat now, I have a cup of scoop of ice cream every day. I have a chocolate cake when I want. I have a dairy milk every day too, but I have an 80-20 rule where I as much as I can I'm strict 80% and I cheat 20%. So I keep and that's because you keep yourself happy, and that's equally important. To be emotionally happy, and I just no strict dieting, no crazy dieting. Of course, sometimes you have a time crunch. You have to do something within a specific time and for a movie or for this or for that. Fine, okay, but the most important thing I would tell anyone who's attempting to recompose, their body weight is follow something that's sustainable, that makes you happy also. And 80-20 rule works pretty well. So give it a thought and read this book, The Fat Burn Fix by Dr. Shanahan.
A lot of movies are releasing now in the 90s. If you had to pick your movie from your filmography, which ones would it be?
I was just asked this question when I was promoting Khel Khel Mein. Definitely Jungle. Films that have not been seen on TV too much. I mean, I know No Entry and All the Best have been seen on TV a lot. Jungle, Pyar Tune Kya Kiya, Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega. Because these are all kind of, at least for my fan base, they're cult movies. Especially, I mean, Love Ke Liye has it with Aslam Bhai and All of Us in the Story. Dave is a film which I think would be relevant in today's day and age. Khushi, even though it didn't do well, but it was one of my performances that's very close to me. I think it worked out really, really well with Kareena and me in that film. Sweet story. There are a couple of others. Om Jai Jagdish also is a relevant story.
Om Jai Jagdish is nice.
Yes, that was Anupam Kher's directorial debut. So yeah. I mean the rest. I mean the latter ones have been active on satellite and digital, but these ones aren't. So all the ones that aren't, not all, these ones that I mentioned.
So I hope you continue to be your authentic self,
Yeah.
and I hope your second innings at the movies is wonderful, and please stay as wonderful and real as you are. Thank you so
Jitesh.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
It
much.
was a pleasure.
It's
of
a
a
real
chat.
pleasure.
Nice to end this. Nice to end this year with your interview.
No,
with
it's
this
a huge privilege. Thank you so much.